Well, good morning. This is Barry Odell with the Church of Christ at Mammoth Spring Facebook page. It is Wednesday morning, April 19th, 2023. Hope everybody's doing all right today. We're in 2 Chronicles 21, where we'll start. Lyle and Janie, good to see you guys. Others who are on the stream, glad y'all are here. As always, if you have any questions or comments, you can add them on the comment section here or on the nearchurches.com Facebook page, and I will acknowledge them when I see them. Working our way through the kings of Judah, and we're in kind of a low spot, you might say, spiritually and morally. We've had two good kings. As you look back over the last couple of pages of your Bible, we've had Jehoshaphat, we've had Asa, 66 years of what are called good kings for the nation of Judah. And now we go in the other direction for a few years. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Well, let's just get started here. Jehoram is the son of Jehoshaphat. He is Judah's fifth king, reigns for 8 years. He's evil. Over here in 2 Chronicles chapter 21, verses 5 and 6, here's what we read about him. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, and he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and that we'll talk about why he did that here in just a second. Walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, just as the house of Ahab had done. So here's the reasoning. He had the daughter of Ahab as a wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Good morning, Connie. Good to see you. So, Ahab and Jezebel still having an influence. But anyway, as I've already said, he's Jehoshaphat's son. And it's amazing to see this change, Jehoshaphat being that good king, and then his son being as wicked as he was. He gets the throne, and this also is recorded here. So, typically, the eldest son gets the throne. There's Gail. Typically, the eldest son would get the throne, and here we have a little more information than we do typically on other kings. Jehoshaphat has, let's see here, 2 Chronicles 21:2. He has Azariah, Jehiel, Zechariah, Azariahu, Michael, and Shephatiah. Okay, so these are the sons of Jehoshaphat. Well, to some of those sons, he gives great gifts. This is 2 Chronicles 21:3. Silver and gold, precious things with fortified cities in Judah. All right, so everybody's getting something. But he gave the kingdom to Jehoram because he was his firstborn. Good morning, Brian. Good to see you. Well, if you have brothers who have some power, they have wealth, they've been given things by their father, but you've received the throne, one way that you might solidify that throne and ensure your reign as king without any challenge would be to do what Jehoram does. 2 Chronicles 21:4. When Jehoram was established over the kingdom of his father, he strengthened himself and killed all his brothers with the sword, and also others of the princes of Israel, probably folks who served with his father. So that shows you a pretty nasty level of depravity that this guy has. Good morning, Ephraim. Good to see you from the Philippines. Glad you're here. All right, so again, 66 years of good. Asa, Jehoshaphat. Now this guy comes on the scene, and to further establish himself as the monarch, well, I'll just kill my family. All right. And we've already noted verse 6. He marries Athaliah. She's going to come into the scene a little bit later. This is Ahab's daughter, and this was purely a political movement. Again, 2 Chronicles 21 and verse 6, he had the daughter of Ahab for his wife. And that goes back to 2 Chronicles chapter 18. And this is one of the few bad things that Jehoshaphat did. He tries to ally himself with Ahab, who's king of Israel. Again, 2 Chronicles 18:1. And so, by marriage, he allied himself with Ahab. this is the product of that, what might be considered politically a wise move. And that's part of the problem that we see throughout the kings is political thought instead of spiritual thought. Let's make alliances with people like Ahab, with the Syrians. Let's try to appease the Assyrians. You see all of these different things taking place, and instead of relying on God, they're relying on these alliances. And, well, that's exactly what we have happening here with Jehoram. Because of his sinful ways. So going back to 2 Chronicles chapter 21, well, let's deal with this first. 2 Chronicles 21:7. So we're told the bad stuff, but then we're told this. The Lord would not destroy the house of David. So sometimes, and you'll see this a few times throughout the Old Testament, the kingdom of Judah is referred to as the house of David, and of course that has messianic implications with Jesus, obviously, Hebrews 7:14, the tribe from which Jesus came. But because of the covenant that he made with David, and since he had promised to give him a lamp and to his son, a lamp to him and to his sons forever, a lamp, a source of light, a source of hope. Well, again, that goes back to 2 Samuel chapter 7 and the promise of a perpetual throne from his seed line. And when you get to Acts 2 and you read Acts 2 verses, about verses 29 to 32, Peter specifically mentions this. And he says, everything that you're seeing and hearing today is a fulfillment of all of these promises to David. That's Acts 2, verse 33, by the way. But all of that's fulfilled in Christ. And so the kingdom of Judah is suffering, but there is still a remnant. There still is hope. So what you have then through the rest of 2 Chronicles, essentially through the rest of 2 Chronicles chapter 21, beginning in verse 8, is you have enemies. Okay, so Edom revolted. And I have Genesis 27, 38 through 40. The Edomites are the descendants of Edom. No, the Edomites are descendants of Esau. I said that incorrectly. Of course, the brother of Jacob. Remember that Jacob stole Esau's birthright. I think it's better to say Esau gave it away. He sold it. But anyway, he received the blessing from the father, from his father, Isaac. Well, then Esau comes in a little bit after that, and this is Genesis, again, 27. He realizes that the blessing has been taken by Jacob, and one of the blessings that Isaac then gives Esau is when they gained enough strength, they would break the yoke of Jacob from off of their neck. And that's realized here, and it's interesting because this is hundreds of years later, after the days of Isaac and Jacob and Esau, hundreds of years later, that Edom revolts. And they fulfill that prophecy is fulfilled here. But it's not just them. Edom is not the only problem. Judah is led into idolatry. And so now you have a letter from Elijah, and you have many enemies that are coming about. So verse 8, for instance, you have Edom revolted. Verse 10, Libnah revolted. And then you get down to verse 16, the Philistines and the Arabians. So you have all of these enemies kind of surrounding Judah now because of Jehoram and his wickedness. Again, chapter 21 and verse 12, a letter came to him from Elijah the prophet, saying, because you have not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat your father, or in the ways of Asa king of Judah, but you've walked in the ways of the kings of Israel. And he had turned Judah and Jerusalem to idolatry. And so in that letter from Elijah, that's covered, but then it's also prophetically stated that he and his household is going to suffer, and of course ultimately that he is going to die. And we see that happening at the end of chapter 21. But I want to pay attention to this. This is, I don't know that there's a worse eulogy, and eulogy is probably not even the right word, of any particular individual in the Bible. Maybe, okay, Judas would be close. It would be better if he had never been born. All right, I think of what was said about Judas. But listen to this, 2 Chronicles 21:20. He reigned in Jerusalem 8 years, and to no one's sorrow departed. Imagine that. You know, we think of funerals and memorials. We think of headstones of, great father, loving mother, all these eulogies, these memorials that are paid to people. And this guy gets to no one's sorrow, he died. And he doesn't even get an honorable burial. He's just buried somewhere. That, one thing I've thought about, being a preacher, preachers have to do funerals. I don't know how that became part of the preacher's work, but it has over the years. Don't make a preacher, don't put a preacher in a difficult situation during your funeral. Live the way you ought to live. Don't make your funeral something like, well, we're not really sorry he's gone. We're not going to miss him. That's the summation of this guy's life. That tells you the level of wickedness. Anyway, that's Jehoram. Well, then we come to the next king, of course, his son, Ahaziah, and he has a couple of different names. You see this in 2 Chronicles 21 and verse 17. This is when the Arabians and the Philistines attacked Judah, all right, under the reign of Jehoram. They came up into Judah and invaded and carried away all the possessions that were found in the king's house, and also his sons and his wives, so that there was not a son left to him except Jehoahaz, the youngest of his sons. So Jehoahaz is Ahaziah. So you get down to 2 Chronicles 22, you have the first 9 verses. The inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, Jehoram's youngest son, king in his place. For the raiders who came with the Arabians into the camp had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, reigned. All right, so this is a fairly short account. Not a lot of detail, so we'll move right through it. He's the 6th king of southern kingdom, or Judah. He only reigns for 1 year. You look at 2 Chronicles 22, verses 3 and 4. And of course, you have to think about his lineage, and we'll talk about that in a second. But he walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother advised him to do wickedly. Therefore he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father. Look at this last phrase, to his destruction. You can have good counselors and you can have bad counselors. Good counselors. I think of Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. He was a good counselor. Well, here you've got a bad counselor. He's the son of Jehoram and Athaliah. Well, Athaliah is the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel. So you still have that connection. You still have that influence. One of the things I've come to realize over years of preaching, but especially reading the biblical text, it may take decades for bad influences, for sinful influences to go away. It often will take death, like within a congregation, if there have been bad influences. It may take several people dying, and maybe a couple of generations of people dying and not being here anymore to affect any positive change within a local congregation. You still have the effects. And so we're talking about Judah here. Well, Ahab was the king of Israel. But remember, 2 Chronicles 18, in order to become more powerful, Jehoshaphat made an alliance through marriage with Ahab and Jezebel. And now we're looking at Jehoshaphat's grandson becoming king, and you still have this influence. So it takes time for wickedness and for its influence to die out. 2 Chronicles 22:6, he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds. He was injured in battle. He's eventually going to die. But anyway, significant events here. Followed his mother's counsel. Well, again, his mother is the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel. So what kind of counsel do you think he got there? The cause of his demise, okay, what really brought him to death? Well, you have this alliance between Israel and Judah. So you get to 2 Chronicles, what I was just reading, 22, verses 6 and 7. There's a battle, there's some injuries to the king of Israel. Let's see, 2 Chronicles 22:5. He followed their advice and went with Jehoram, that's the king of Israel, son of Ahab, to go to war against Syria. And the Syrians wounded Joram. And so he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds. that he had received in the battle, and Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to visit him. So he's going to go check on how he's doing. This is also recorded in 2 Kings chapter 29. This alliance should never have been made in the first place, but it was. And so now, because it was, you have another prophecy come into play. When he goes down to see Jehoram of Israel, he's killed by Jehu. And we can go back to 2 Kings chapter 8. Jehu was appointed by God. He's a wicked man, wicked king. But he was specifically appointed by God to essentially, hey, good morning, Sheila, to essentially erase Ahab from the tribe of Israel. Ahab and all of his descendants. Well, guess who Jehoahaz is? He's a descendant of Ahab. And so he's a part of this fulfilled prophecy. He's killed by Jehu because he was of the house of Ahab. And the reason that took place was because of that alliance that Jehoshaphat made with Ahab in order to be more strong against the Syrians. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Do not be deceived. Evil companions corrupt good morals. And this whole story, going back to Ahab and Jezebel, affecting the life of Jehoshaphat, affecting the life of his son and now his grandson. I mean, how many biblical accounts do we have that teach us what 1 Corinthians 15:33 says? That evil companions corrupt good morals. And so, there you have it. Now, well, the throne is now empty. So what do? He doesn't have anybody to inherit the throne. So what do? Well, his mother assumes the throne. We won't spend much time on this because we have a relatively small amount of information about it. So he dies, killed by Jehu, and you get to 2 Chronicles 22. It's also recorded in 2 Kings 11. 2 Chronicles 22:10. Now when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaz, and again, Ahaziah, and again, Athaliah is the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, when she saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. So she continues in the wickedness of Ahab and Jezebel. But Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were being murdered, and put him and his nurse in a bedroom. So Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah so that she did not kill him. And he was hidden with them in the house of God for 6 years while Athaliah reigned over Israel. So again, quite interesting here. So we typically say, the kings of Israel and Judah. Well, there was one queen mother, who was the daughter of Ahab, who had married Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, because of a political alliance. There's no good that can come from these alliances. Their faith is not in God, it's in their power. It's in their armies, it's in how much money they've got, how much silver and gold they have in the treasuries, etc. The one good thing is that you have this particular individual, Jehoshabeath, who hides Joash, and that's where we'll start back Monday when we come back to the stream. And Joash is one of the best kings in Judah's history. Joash or Jehoash, he's got a couple of different names, but that's where these accounts end here. Joram and Ahaziah, you've got about 9 years of wickedness, and then you've got Athaliah, the daughter of Ahab. She reigns for 6 years, so about 15 years of wickedness. And then you have a return to God under Joash, and that's quite an interesting account. That's probably all we'll do Monday, is just look at Joash, because there's so much good information. All right, guys, that's it for today. Appreciate you being here. I don't see any questions or comments. Appreciate all the greetings. Hope you guys have a good day. Tonight, it is Wednesday. Tonight's the last night of our gospel meeting with Terry Wayne Frizzell. He's done an excellent job. I've really enjoyed having him here, getting to listen to him. He's had some great lessons. If you've not been able to hear them, you can go to our YouTube channel. On our Facebook page, the whole service is live streamed. But when we upload things to our YouTube channel, we cut it down to just the sermon. And so if you want to go back and hear his previous sermons from this week, go to Mammoth Spring Church of Christ on YouTube, and you can hear them all there. But anyway, we'll be live tonight at 7 o'clock. So if you are maybe you're sick and shut in, or maybe you don't have a place to go on Wednesday nights, you can watch here. All right, guys. Hope you have a good day, and hope to see you back here on Monday at 11 o'clock.